I'll give you a hint. It's the name of the class.
Attractive?
The all-attractive one. Krishna means all attractive. So now we're going to hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam where we're at. We read this verse by verse. We started at the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You have the set at your home, is that correct? That big book set, I think. Did you ever? You got one?
You keep saying that, and we keep discussing it, and no, we don't have one yet.
Well, you guys will get one soon enough. I thought you guys got one at some point. But this big, it's that, look back there behind that painting, and Mother, you showed, it's that big book set. And we're reading from that top book right now. But if you read that, it has all of the descriptions of Krishna's pastimes. If you guys like stories, kids love stories. So many stories about Krishna. There's so many wonderful pastimes of Krishna. And then deep teachings, philosophical truths that will help you perfect your life. You want a perfect life?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we all want a perfect life. So this Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us how to perfect our life. And it's actually said to be Krishna's scriptural form in this age. So, God has many forms and many names. And as far, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm the taste of water, I am of luminaries, I'm the sun, I am the moon. And he says, all the greatest things of this world, this is my representation. And of all scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam is his representation. So you should try and get this in your home. It's very nice. And then you could read with the kids. It could be very nice activities, things like that. But for now, come here, sleep in the van, and then come here in the morning, and we'll do it together. We'll walk you through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So no problem. But for right now, we're on 1:11:26 of Srimad Bhagavatam. But before we begin, and actually I'll have Aaron do a nice service here. You guys are we're going to chant these prayers. These are prayers evoking the mercy. We're begging the gurus all the way up the parampara, all the way to Krishna himself. We're begging them for the mercy to flow down to us today as we approach them in scriptural form. So we're going to chant this prayer all together and keep scrolling down.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
That answer your question?
Yes.
Those prayers are very nice, and this helps us to evoke the mercy, not to try and arrogantly try and storm on God's kingdom, and I'm going to take this knowledge. This is mine. I'm gonna pile into here. It's a humble request to receive this knowledge. So this is a great way to approach the scriptures. So we chant these. That's why we chant these invocation prayers, and actually that's why we do our whole morning program, where trying to be as pleasing to the Lord and the Lord's representatives as possible by glorifying them, singing their glories. And then ultimately, when it comes down to Bhagavatam class, that we can really, really take something. It helps prepare the field of our heart to welcome Krishna into it. So that's why we do everything that we do. And even we sat and we chanted japa together. That was very nice. You guys can come any day if you want to sit and do some japa. I would love to. I do japa every day. So if you ever want to sit and do a few rounds of japa, I would be happy if you text me, something like that. But, because I'm very busy. But if you come in the morning, I'll always do japa with you at some point. If you ever come in the morning, that's my promise to you. I'll make some time to do japa with you.
I already forgot most of what you said.
Just come in the morning sometimes. If not, you come to our Sunday programs and our Wednesday programs. That's always bare minimum. Please come. That would be very, very good. We have nice feasts, everything. But then chanting japa is very nice. I'll be happy to do any of these things with you and sing with you. I'll come sing with you guys any morning that I'm here. Sometimes I travel, and if I travel, I cannot do it. But if I don't travel, you find me here, and I'll happily do all of them with you. So now we're going to read the actual scripture itself. We're on chapter 11. There is there's hundreds of chapters in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. We're on chapter 11, text 26. There's 18,000 texts in this Bhagavatam. We've gone through maybe a couple hundred at this point. Maybe 1,000. Or we've been going through it now. But anyhow, we go day by day, verse by verse. So we'll do that today, okay? Shriyo nivaso yasyoraha Panapatram mukham drisham Vahavaloka palanam Saranganam padambujam. You know what? Oh, oops. I skipped a bunch of verses, so. Okay, we ended there. We're on 24. Ready? Rajamargam gate Krishne Dwarakaya kulastriyaha Harmyan yaruruhur vipra Tarikshana mahotsavaha Rajamargam, the public roads. Gate, while passing over. Krishna, by Lord Krishna. Dwarakaya, of the city of Dwaraka. Kulastriya, ladies of respectable families. Harmyani, on the palaces. Aruruhu, got up. Vipra, O Brahmanas. Tat Ikshana, just to look upon him, Krishna. Maha Utsava, accepted as the greatest festival. So this is what's happening is after the Bhagavad Gita, there was a great war. And after the great war, many, many things happened. But the Pandavas, the righteous people of the world, due to Krishna's advice and guidance, reclaimed the earth, and all of the wicked people who needed to be punished were actually killed in the battle. And the earth had a new golden age, temporarily. So Krishna reestablished all these things. And then the reason Krishna, one of them, he comes to this planet is one, to reestablish religion, but two, to give pleasure to his devotees who have been worshipping him, maybe some for many, many thousands of years, and also to punish those who are doing wrong. So Krishna actually did all that in the Bhagavad Gita. And now the Pandavas, he left the Pandavas and all of his great friends in Hastinapur, and he's going back to his own city, Dwaraka. And it's just this part of the Bhagavatam is describing his entrance into Dwaraka. So we talked about many things that were happening previously. But now where we're leaving off, this is what's being described. Krishna entering Dwaraka and what's happening as he's entering. So it says here, When Lord Krishna passed over the public roads, all the ladies from the respectable families of Dwarka went up to the roofs of their palaces just to have a look at the Lord. They considered this to be the greatest festival. Remember, Krishna means what? All attractive, almost like most beautiful. You know, in the Christian Bible, there's so many descriptions of the Lord. He's omnipotent, he's all-powerful, he's omniscient, he's all-knowing. It's even said he's he's merciful, he's loving, all these things. But not so much found in the Bible is he's all beautiful. Why is it not found in the Bible? Because no one really knows what God looks like in the Bible, because it's not really described. But in the Vedas, that's different. There's many descriptions of what the Lord's forms, his glories, so many things look like. So actually this, if we get to it, it'll describe what his beauty actually looks like. So anyhow, let's hear from Srila Prabhupada. To have a look at the Lord is a great festive occasion, undoubtedly, as it was considered by the metropolitan ladies of Dwarka. This is still followed by the devout ladies of India. Especially during the days of the Julan and Janmashtami ceremonies, the ladies of India still throng up. Throng is like they gather in large groups, and in the greatest number at the temple of the Lord, where his transcendental eternal form is worshipped. The transcendental form of the Lord installed in a temple is not different from the Lord personally. Such a form of the Lord is called Archa Vigraha, or Archa incarnation, and is expanded by the Lord by his internal potency, just to facilitate the devotional service of his innumerable devotees who are in the material world. The material senses cannot perceive the spiritual nature of the Lord, and therefore the Lord accepts the Archa Vigraha, which is apparently made of material elements like earth, wood, and stone, but actually there is no material contamination. The Lord being Kaivalya, one alone, there is no matter in him. He is one without a second, and therefore the Almighty Lord can appear in any form without being contaminated by the material conception. Therefore, festivities in the temple of the Lord, as held generally, are like festivals performed during the manifestive days of the Lord of Dwarka, about 5,000 years ago. The authorized acharyas who know the science perfectly install such temples of the Lord under regulative principles just to offer facilities to the common man. But persons who are less intelligent, without being conversant with the science, mistake this great attempt to be idol worship, and poke their nose into that to which they have no access. Therefore the ladies or men who observe festivals in the temples of the Lord, just to have a look at the transcendental form, are 1,000 times more glorious than those who are non-believers in the transcendental form of the Lord. So Prabhupada actually took the time here to, when Lord Krishna was on the earth, all the common people were able to see him. But this is very rare. And even if you happen to be at like, imagine being, the Christians, they give great emphasis to Jesus. Imagine being one of the disciples of Jesus. Or imagine even being able to see Jesus passing through the street. How great achievement. How fortunate you actually would be. Now where we are, not such great personalities give their appearance to us. Or maybe we haven't earned that yet. Or that great mercy hasn't fallen upon us yet. But what has come to us is, the established temple, the Archa Vigraha. The Lord doesn't leave us completely bereft. He gives us a form by which anyone can see, and these are his material forms, seeming material forms. It's not actually his material form. Everything is spirit, actually, all of matter, but it gives a regulated form by which we can approach him. So we do regulatory worship of the deity forms of the Lord. This isn't idol worship. We're not worshiping like a wood or stone or anything like that. We're actually worshiping the spiritual Lord who can appear to us. This wood and the stone is helping to guide us to actually perceive the Lord. That's all that the wood and the stone is doing. It's being used in the service to the Lord to give us facility to actually approach his spirit, his spiritual nature. So the Lord is all spiritual qualities. He has an all spiritual form, but because really we don't have such a deep desire, even like we don't have such a deep faith in God, he's not ready to, come. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So if you really want to see the Lord, and you make, like today you guys made a great endeavor to sleep overnight and come, and if you make this type of endeavor every day, the Lord will reveal himself more and more and more to the more that we surrender unto him. But if we just say, all right, well, I'll come once a week and maybe I'll see the Lord, but the rest of the week I'll do many, many other things, and then, the Lord will say, okay, I'll show a bit of myself to you. Because you want to give a little to me, I'll give, no problem. I'll give you what you want. But if we really ardently, passionately try to see the Lord, he reveals more. And there's many people, through worshiping the deities, the Lord has performed miraculous activities through this deity form due to their intense faith and their love and their devotion. So that's what he's looking for. So anyhow, at first when I started practicing Krishna consciousness, I was very confused by the deity worship. Why? Why are we worshiping stone or marble? Why are we dressing them in nice clothes? Why are we going before us? And the answer is because we are completely conditioned to see only with the material senses. We only really can appreciate matter in this world. Not many of us. Some of us have some spiritual tuning in that we can do, but most of us do not. So the form, the Archa Vigraha, is seemingly material form, but the spiritual form of the Lord can come and enliven that seemingly material form and give spiritual grace and insights and mercy. And so many people who worship the deities, and myself included, will very much tell you, but in their worship of the deity, they're able to have so much spiritual realization and spiritual insights, and things have come to the Lord through the form of the deity on a spiritual level, which can't be detected by what Prabhupada says, those who have no access. The Lord's spiritual form is blocked by our own ignorance in the material consciousness. And some can recognize the innocent or the righteous, but those, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, many people saw Krishna there, but many wanted to fight against Krishna's party. Why? Because their own lusts and greeds and their deadly sins have actually blocked them from being able to detect the Lord. When Jesus came to this world, Jesus was recognized by some, many, but many were not eligible to recognize Jesus. Why? Due to their own sinful nature. So, any of us who are serious, if we seek the Lord, if we try to go towards the Lord, we will find. But the deity form is a very, very wonderful way. That's why every morning we have deity worship and we sing songs to the deities. And actually through these forms, the Lord can absolutely appear to you. But do you have access? That's where we're at right now. Lord, will you give me access to see you? Will you give me revelation? Will you appear to me in this form? He comes in many ways. Sometimes you've probably seen the Lord in a bumper sticker. Did you ever see that? You're going throughout your life, and then all of a sudden a message on a signboard or a bumper sticker, something catches your eye. You're like, wow, I really needed to hear that today. Or maybe you're talking to somebody, and somebody you don't normally talk to, or even somebody you normally talk to, but they say something you need to hear at the exact right time. So the Lord comes through so many different forms, but he also is definitely coming through his deity form at the temple. So there's regulated temple worship. And so in India especially, you'll see this is very, very prominent. Everyone, instead of going to the bar or, gathering to watch football on Sundays or this, that, and the other, or sporting events, in India it's very prominent to go and have association with others via religious activities, like going to the temple or observing festivals of the Lord, things like this. And there's, regulated times and ceremonies on how to do everything. So this is very nice. So Prabhupada is actually, just by this verse alone, he's giving so much of that. Now we didn't do the last paragraph. It appears from the verse that the inhabitants of Dwarka were all owners of big palaces. This indicates the prosperity of the city. The ladies got up on the roofs just to have a look at the procession and the Lord. The ladies did not mix with the crowd on the street, and thus their respectability was perfectly observed. There was no artificial equality with the man. Female respectability is preserved more elegantly by keeping the woman separate from the man. The sexes should not mix unrestrictedly. So this is definitely controversial as far as what modern culture, especially in the West, deems appropriate. But women and men are very much, it's best to keep them separate. Why? Because what's natural is when women and men get together, some type of attraction is formed, and then they can both act out of good character to try and facilitate those urges. And I'll keep it as cryptic as I can because we have kids here. But this is so there's an actual etiquette on how women associate in society. There's an etiquette on how men associate with society. This is the ancient Aryan way of things. And of course, when Krishna was here, that was practiced all over the world. Even 100+ years ago, there was a closer, example of how that was practiced throughout history. Now, in this modern world, except in maybe the, Orthodox cultures, Orthodox religious cultures, and like Islam, and maybe even like the Amish, the Mennonites, and even Orthodox Hindus and so on. Now it's become very mixed, but you see actually there's all kinds of problems, so much divorce rate, so much illicit activity, and so much scandal and things like this. This was meant to prevent all these things. So they had proper etiquette. So the women, they were all off into the side and they kept with each other, and the men also. And then husbands and wives, they would come together. But otherwise, the men and the women didn't mix. And this is very healthy, actually. There's a legal way for men and women to mix, and that's through marriage. But otherwise, mixing of men and women, it's not like we have programs here and we say, all right, the men don't talk to the women and women don't talk to the men. But when we do have people part of our group and they get more sincere, we tell women it's really, really beneficial to focus on your women relationships. And for men, it's very, very beneficial to focus on your men relationships. And then if there's a certain woman or a certain man that might catch the other's eye, and they're in a place in their life where they're thinking they are very interested in this, then the pathway to marriage can be opened up. But it's not so ideal. It's not like we have plenty of women who come here. It's not that I don't talk to the women, and of course I talk to them and I greet them and I give them respect and honor like they deserve. But I usually leave my wife. She cultivates very deep relationships with the women, and I myself try to cultivate very deep relationships with the men, and this is very healthy. So anyway, this is also being mentioned in this verse. Yes.
May I share something that I saw just recently that I think supports what you were saying, an experience I had? So I was reading a discussion recently, and it made me think about, you were saying in today's culture, people oftentimes try to throw off what they feel is this restriction that you're talking about, and they try to all mix together and say, oh, it's fine, just let everyone do whatever.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And they try to deny that it causes problems. But the more that they do so, right, as you said, it causes more and more problems. And one example I saw recently was where there was a woman who was she was supposed to be going on a trip overseas, and then when she was on her way to the airport, she realized she had forgotten her passport, and so she returned home to come get her passport. And when she returned home, she found another woman in her bed at home.
Huh?
And then but in today's society, where we try to make people feel like everything should be allowed to go however you feel like, she was confused enough that she was actually asking on the internet for people's help, because she felt like maybe she was in the wrong for being angry at her boyfriend for having another woman there in her bed.
Yeah, it's
while
all
she was gone, and so it just causes such confusion.
Everyone's so
to have
confused.
all this stuff mixed that people don't even seem to understand when it's appropriate to be upset about very inappropriate behavior.
Yes, it's all, people are so confused, and there's moral law, what's right, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. And, this is all described in the Vedas. This is described in many religious, now I'm not saying that certain Orthodox traditions haven't been very oppressive towards women, which is why this backlash, and the opposite has now happened, because there's many things that have happened where women have been absolutely oppressed. But now going the other spectrum, just let anything go, and let's empower women to do whatever they'd like, and let's empower men to associate with women however they'd like. And actually we see it's actually causing more and more disturbance. And even I'll give you an example. Like, for instance, in India, with the India is a very very large. So many people are there too. But one of the things that happened over the years is that once they also got access to a lot of the Western technologies and the Western things that had access, and then all of a sudden their cultural barriers that were naturally set in place started to degrade. You saw like a huge uprising in things like rape and really horrible types of crimes with the opposite sexes, just because that was socially never made acceptable or available to them. And then upon that becoming an option, we see that it's become some things become very bad. Now also that's happened here throughout history as well, everywhere. You see this, but the injunction, and scriptural injunction, is that women should be protected at all phases of their life, because they are the more vulnerable sex, and they are the more vulnerable part of society. It's always been known that protection of women and children is always emphasized before the men. Why? Because they're more vulnerable. Then men can potentially defend themselves. We have a body that's more suitable to defend itself. Not saying that some women can kick my butt, but most women cannot, because that's not really the bodily nature. I was explaining, actually, my interestingly enough, my mother-in-law, my wife, and I were having a similar conversation about this yesterday. And it's been very interesting having my mother-in-law here, because she has a different paradigm of understanding of morals and right and wrong, and we follow the Vedic paradigm. So some things inevitably clash. So this one came up yesterday, and I was giving her the example that you have many types of vehicles. They personally have 2 vehicles here right now. My wife's father has brought his big pickup truck, which is good for loading and hauling many things. It's very strong, it's very powerful. And then they have some nice sport utility vehicle, a little Jeep, that also has its function and things like that. Now you can try and use a pickup truck for the same roles you'd use a Jeep, and you can try and use a Jeep for the same roles you'd use a pickup truck, but one inevitably has a certain function that goes a certain way, and one inevitably has another function that has a certain... They each have their own unique strengths and weaknesses. So women and men are like that. And one of the weaknesses, you could say, of women is they're more vulnerable, both physically and emotionally, and mentally as well. This is most advertising. It's known most advertising is actually geared towards. It depends. For men, the way to get men in something is they put a beautiful woman there in the advertisement to try and stimulate their sex impulse, because I want beautiful women in my life. And if they associate Camel cigarettes with beautiful women, then they'll say, maybe if I smoke this, I'll get more of what I'm craving, things like that. There's one way they market for both, but also they're very very expert at they know how to market to both men and women. And a ton, for instance, if you go to a shopping center in the middle of the day, you will see it's 90% women. 90% women. Because these places, they know how to, they're set up and designed by very, very incredibly intellectual minds on how to attract women to these places. And similarly, online, and many other places, there's many ways to gear to men. But there's there's certain vulnerabilities, and in the Vedic system that females are recommended to be protected at all stages of life due to that vulnerability. In the younger years, when, like, say Sisi is your daughter, to a certain point, the father is to protect the daughter, and then up to a certain point, then one day she might meet a man who's to be her husband, and the husband is supposed to protect her throughout her life. And then at some point, it's good because maybe at some point he is not able to protect her anymore in his own old age, that the son always protects the mother at some point. So this is the Vedic system, and it works nicely, and it prevents all kinds of things that could go really wrong. And women and children are always, by the Vedic standard at least, always to be protected. So this is one of the ways that they're kept protected, where it's not that a bunch of men are able to have access to all the women and talk and flirt and joke with them at their will. And so even here, when we have, we're not too tight on anything, but when we have women here and stuff like that, we encourage. If I saw the boys are always wherever the ladies are, and I'll be like, come on, what are you in there for? Because the men have, we have a certain thing that we should focus on in spiritual life, and women also have. And even you go to the temple in India, you often see there's a division. There's the woman's side, so that they can worship nicely, and then there's a division, and then there's the men's side. And I've gotten beaten a few times, not heavily beaten, but with a stick, move over, because I've crept a little too far onto the women's side. And I've seen the lady security also take women and drag them back to the side that they're supposed to be on. Why? Because this actually helps to give proper room for everyone to worship with less chance of inappropriate activities mixing. Like you might see, imagine you want to just dance in temple you're worshiping, but all of a sudden some man is coming up and grinding on some lady at the temple. It's disgusting, right? But at the same time, if this is happening, you see the clubs in the USA, and you see all this inappropriate behavior. It's nasty, actually. You ever go to any of these things? See the man groping up on the women liking it, kind of, and the men loving it. It's just oh my God. If I see it now, it makes me cringe, like anything. But it's rare I see it now. But anyhow, so this is there. We're going to read one more verse because I wanted to get into the reservoir of all beauty, which is what Krishna means. So, one more verse. Nityam nirikshamananam yadapi dvarakokasam navitripyanti drishyaha shriyodam mangamachyutam. Nityam, regularly, always. Nirikshamananam, of those who look at him. Yat, although, api, in spite of. Dwaraka okasam, the inhabitants of Dwaraka. Na, never. Vitripyanti, satisfied. He, exactly. Drisha, sight. Shriya, beauties. Dhamma angam, the bodily reservoir. Achyutam, the infallible. Translation. The inhabitants of Dwaraka were regularly accustomed to look upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satiated. This reminds us, we chanted the Shikshastakam this morning. We chanted Yugayitam Nimeshena Chakshusha Pravishayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahenami. And there's a moment's like 1,000 years. My eyes begin to flood with tears. Something. Yeah, the cosmos is an empty sphere. Govinda, when you disappear. So when you see the Lord, He's so beautiful. You just want to keep seeing. And then if He disappears, you're just no, I can't be satiated with anything. That's why eventually, Judy, you were asking about you don't want to associate with non-devotees. It's not that you have to be so rigid. This person's not a devotee of Krishna, that I'm not going to associate with them. It's more so what happens is you become so attracted to the devotional elements of life, and you'll be so attracted to the people who express devotional elements of life that you just want to keep hanging out with them more and more and more. And then naturally what happens is you'll less and less and less associate with others. So this happens. So let's just finish up here, because I actually have to go with my father-in-law. We're going to check out another property today. So I actually have something, but you guys have to eat breakfast. So anyway, when the ladies of the city of Dwarka got up on the roofs of their palaces, they never thought that they had previously many times seen the beautiful body of the infallible Lord. This indicates that they had no satiation in desiring to see the Lord. Anything material seen for a number of times ultimately becomes unattractive by the law of satiation. The law of satiation acts materially, but there is no scope for it in the spiritual realm. This is like, you've heard of this, familiarity breeds contempt. Like over time, when you experience something over and over again, it stops being special in the material world. But the Lord is not like that. And the devotees of the Lord are not like that. The spiritual process is not like that. And there's proof. There is nothing that you can chant over and over and over and over and over again every day and feel good about it. You would just be, oh my God, this is so like crazy. You know, like, I don't know, I used to play video games. And once you play the video game or you beat the game, that's it. Okay. Yeah. You can try and play it again, but then eventually you could try, it's just not as good as it used to be. And then you try again, you know. I did this with Pokemon. You know these little Game Boy Pokemons? So I used to play Pokemon and I would beat it and then it was good. And then like, all right, I'm satiated for some time. And then maybe a year or so later, all right, well, let me play this game again. Or, you know, maybe a year or so later. And maybe over a span of like, 10 years, I revisited that game multiple times. But then eventually, it gets old. It's not satisfying. But actually in spiritual life, it's ever increasingly satisfying. And then so you see, we chant the same prayers every day. And actually something I've noticed this year, by chanting the same prayers every day with practically the same people, Piyush, Tanmay, Michael, and, sometimes we get guest Parth, and sometimes we get guests. But actually our enthusiasm, it gets better and better and sweeter, and we're dancing more and more, and we're happier and happier. Why? Because the process is transcendental. It's not like a material process, So anyhow, and we chant the same mantra every day. We do the same rounds every day. And every day, actually, over the years, I've wanted to chant more and more and more and more and more. And it's not like I've like, all right, well, I'm tired of this. Instead of doing 10 rounds a day, I'm done. I'm doing 5 rounds. Or now 5 rounds is too much for me. I'm going to do 3. 3 rounds is too much for me. Maybe I'll do 1. No, you over the time, you're like, oh, I like this. I'm going to do it more and more. I'm seeing the value in this. So this is what the law of satiation is. So anyway, there's no scope for it in the spiritual realm. The word infallible, if you want to read on the screen, it's here. The word infallible is significant here because although the Lord has mercifully descended on earth, he is still infallible. The living entities are fallible because fallible means subject to mistake, and infallible means there's no chance of anything mistaken. He's perfect. The living entities are fallible because when they come in contact with the material world, they lack their spiritual identity, and thus the body materially obtained becomes subjected to birth, growth, transformation, situation, deterioration, and annihilation under the laws of nature. So this is the stages of the body. And actually, due to our imperfection, this is when we become fallible. It's called the fall of man. The Lord's body is not like that. He descends as he is and is never under the laws of the material modes. His body is the source of everything that be, the reservoir of all beauties beyond our experience. No one, therefore, is satiated by seeing the transcendental body of the Lord, because there are always manifestations of newer and newer beauties. That's what Krishna means. The transcendental name, form, qualities, entourage, etc. are all spiritual manifestations, and there is no satiation in chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no satiation in discussing the qualities of the Lord, and there is no limitation of the entourage of the Lord. He is the source of all and is limitless. So this is something, we all want to do something in our life that will get better and better and better and better and better and better. Like if you had mac and cheese every day for every meal, it's not that the mac and cheese will get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. Oh my gosh, I really want something else now. I can't wait to have something else other than mac and cheese. And the body itself will not survive very well on just like one thing like that. It needs a balance of many things. But the worship of the Lord is not like that, nor is the Lord like that. It gets better and better and better and better and better and better. We're looking for something like that. You can play some video game, but then at some point, like, I need to play something else. You can watch some movie, and then at some point, I need to watch something else. You can read some book, and I need to read something else. But when you read about the Lord, this is my third time reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. And now it gets better and better and better. I'll keep reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can't do that with Harry Potter. Harry Potter, you can't keep reading it, and it's going to get better and better and better and better. Why? Because she's not transcendental, J.K. Rowling. She's not offering something transcendental. But the Lord, via His scriptures, the Lord via His glories, His pastimes, His discussions, His descriptions, even His holy name as well. All of it gets better and better and better and better. And this is the promise. This is why we can keep going for many, many years. And devotees never get tired of doing this. Because the Lord is transcendental and no one is satiated. And imagine you get a glimpse, you actually get to see the Lord in person. You'll be like, oh my God, I have to be able to see Him more and more and more. And this is actually what we focus on in our life. We're trying to associate with the Lord deeper and deeper and deeper. We're just trying to understand, who is the Lord? What is He about? What does He want from us? And when that relationship is known, then we can have a better understand. Well, how can I be of service? How can I establish a relationship of love? But all this, if you don't even know somebody, how can you learn to love them and serve them? So, if I never met you, Judah, how could you come here and serve everyone prasadam and give people plates? It's impossible. We would have to meet people first. So if we don't approach the Lord and try and meet the Lord and understand the Lord, what chance do we have to have any type of exchange of love? And so actually, how did we meet? Actually, is through the mercy of the devotees. The devotees were all going out and they like to share spiritual teachings with others. We say, oh, let's go to the Pagan Pride Festival. Right? That's what that's called, the Pagan Pride?
That's one of them that they do in Syracuse.
That's the one we met you guys at, right?
We met Dad and Mom.
That's right. Oh, I didn't meet you yet.
No.
That's right. But we met Dad and Mom there at the Pagan Pride Festival. But without the mercy of the devotees, and I think we were with Krishna Kripa Prabhu, and without the mercy of the devotees pulling us there, we never would have, met you guys. And then somehow or other we all met. And then, now many years later, we're still going deeper and deeper. Yes.
Just like to share that it's even more like spectacular divine will that was actually my first time ever being there, because I don't usually go to things like that because I'm not a pagan, and I don't, I had not generally associated with people like that much before that. And so it was my first time going there, and
then the Lord
to meet you like that. So it was like just right.
Yeah, the Lord is there. We also don't go to pagan pride festivals very much. It's not something we're that interested in. But we'll go to anywhere where people will let us chant Hare Krishna, and the pagans are very open to people, of all types of spiritual practices sharing. So it was a very eccentric and enthusiastic group of people. And yeah, you guys were the great gems that we found at the Pagan Pride Festival. So and now we get to meet Judah and Caius and Cedric and Cece, and so this is our great fortune. And Brittany, where is Brittany?
She's home.
Okay, we're missing Brittany. I cannot believe Brittany let you guys stay out last night. Are you going to get in trouble when you go home?
Probably.
Yeah, okay. I know the feeling.
It's worth it, though.
It's worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She's at home working.
That's all right. Judah, you approach Mom first. She'll be softer to her son than her husband. So tell Mom how good of a time you had, and then she'll be merciful on your father. So anyhow, we should end here. We probably won't do much questions today because I have something I have to take care of. But I'm very happy you guys came. Thank you so much. We have this wonderful prasadam. Today is Ekadashi, so it's a very special type of prasadam today. You kids especially have to eat. You have to eat the prasadam, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And it's very sweet. It's something nice, I think, that you guys will be very happy. And anyone online who joined, thank you so much. I'll turn this off.